Alright guys, welcome to the stream. So today is day 5 of the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Easter egg, and we're just minutes, if not seconds, away from the 5th video being revealed. So we'll just have to wait it out, and then as soon as that gets revealed, I'm jumping onto Warzone and we are going to head on to the bunker or the shack. There it is. Let's have a look. Here it goes.
The Mardi Gras crisis continued today in New Orleans. Festivities in the city itself have been canceled because the police are on strike, although some parades are being held in the suburbs. A judge ordered the police back to work, but so far the police have ignored the court order.
The big Mardi Gras parades would normally go through the city. This year, because of the police strike, most were moved to the suburbs.
Near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, an accident at a nuclear power plant. A spokesman said that a feed water pump broke down this morning, automatically shutting down the 3-mile nuclear power plant. Some radiated steam escaped into the atmosphere before the plant could be sealed off, but officials said there is no threat to health. The plant is 10 miles southeast of Harrisburg.
Within minutes after notification of the reactor accident at 3 Mile Island, the resources of the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission began to deploy to the plant site. Personnel and equipment began to arrive at the site, located on the Susquehanna River, to monitor the reactor and to evaluate the physical and radiation hazards to the surrounding communities.
This means it is now considered safe for pregnant women and preschool children to return to their homes within a 5-mile radius of the 3 Mile Island site.
In Britain, truck drivers are expected to end a 27-day-long strike. They will get a pay raise of almost 21%, and that is far above the government's anti-inflation ceiling.
Thursdays after class, we usually go out to eat. Helen would always drink. Later, she would pick her daughter up at school and drive home. One day, there was a terrible accident. Well, what could I have done?
If your friend has too much to drink, don't let her drive. Call a cab. Drive her yourself. We've got to start taking care of each other. That's what friends are for.
I didn't want to insult her. I didn't...
Maintaining peace, or at least an uneasy calm in the world, is the Security Council's raison d'etre and one of the United Nations functions. As a delegate once observed,
the Security Council, Mr. President, is the most prestigious and authoritative of the organs of the United Nations. It is endowed by the Charter with the capacity to take mandatory decisions. But our esteem for this body derives not only from the binding character of its authority. We are endeared to the Council because of the...
In England, it's all over now except for the concession. The Conservative Party of Margaret Thatcher has won the most seats in Britain's Parliament, and Mrs. Thatcher is apparently to be the first woman Prime Minister in that country, and in all of Europe for that matter.
James Callaghan's Labour government is out, the Tories are in, with the first majority government in 5 years. Margaret Thatcher, nicknamed the Iron Lady, becomes Britain's first woman in the top job.
As having an entirely, what you would call a middle-class approach. I call it a fundamentally conservative approach with a small c, because it's founded on belief in the dignity of the human personality.
This picture of devastation in an open field a half-mile northwest of Chicago's O'Hare Airport is all that remains of the worst aviation accident in U.S. history.
A temporary morgue has been set up in an American Airlines hangar. Pathologists, dentists, and a disaster team are working on the grim identification process. But they say that...
SALT II, signed but never ratified, the embrace broken by the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan.
A dummy in the front seat of a car going 30 miles an hour. Watch what happens when the car stops. Now the dummy's wearing a lap belt with lap and shoulder belts. See the difference? We thought these films might help you decide what to do the next time you get in your car. Well, we know safety belts are a real headache, but look at it this way. Your headache could be...
Information is actually a deliberately distorted or manipulated information that is leaked into the communication system of the opponent with the expectation that it would be accepted as genuine information and influence either the decision-making process, for example, or to influence or manipulate public opinion.
La désinformation, ce n'est pas simplement le mensonge.
Disinformation is not simply lies or falsifications. It is the art of having your enemies say what you want them to say. This consists in conditioning Western journalists by the USSR in such a way that in perfectly good faith, or sometimes for different reasons, even sometimes financial reasons, these journalists would write what the Soviet Union would like them to write.
So I think pretty much
takes their text and
last
says,
couple of videos, the code came out in about 18 minutes, so I'm assuming it'll be about the same here as well.
Active measures, and these
So
go
probably
even
have
further,
about 12 minutes.
consist in making up completely false documents which they try to have distributed as authentic Western documents. Both techniques have enormous importance in the strategy of mental destabilization of the West by the Soviet Union.
Mentale de l'Occident par l'Union soviétique.
At the moment, the Soviets are involved in active measures all over the world and practically in any country of the world. The number of operations which they are running can be counted only in thousands.
After an hour and 10 minutes, Mr. Carter left the hospital wearing a figure-8 harness to keep his shoulders erect and a sling on his left arm. Tonight, the White House said Mr. Carter had fractured his left collarbone and is taking medication for his considerable pain.
So right now, as I'm watching this, I'm actually trying to load Warzone, but there seems to be a server issue as well. So we'll see how it plays out.
Containing thousands of disco records was blown up. The rest was unplanned. Fans stormed out onto the field.
Still got about 10 minutes, I think,
Disco records were hurled like
before the
frisbees.
code rocks up.
Bonfires were set. Bottles were thrown. The batting cage was torn down and destroyed.
Yeah, so servers are undergoing temporary
White
maintenance.
Sox players
Not
had
the
to be
best
locked
time
in
to
their
do that
clubhouse
right
for their
now,
own
I think.
protection. The melee lasted an hour and a half and resulted in 39 arrests and a few minor injuries.
The Soviet Union had just made a massive arms deal with Iraq and was pouring large quantities of the most modern equipment into Iraq. It already had an arms arrangement with Syria. That is a criticism that is, and that one should reflect about, the lack of understanding of the impact of economic change on political changes. That is a lesson we ought to learn for the future.
No direct contact has ever been had, as far as I know, between the United States government officially and the Ayatollah directly. They were unified only on one negative conclusion, and that was that the Shah had to go.
These machines not only verify the number of bills, but also detect any possible counterfeits. Many things can earmark a phony: weight, color, size, or poor detail in artwork. Once identified, it is cataloged, then sent off to the Secret Service for investigation.
Yeah, I mean, if this breaks out, and then we can't get into Warzone, man, that is going to be so anticlimactic.
The time of bonanza is over.
Two relief wells are being drilled to divert the flow of oil and eventually shut it off. One relief well is less than 1,200 feet from its target. Oil officials say if it's successful, the world's biggest oil spill could be over in less than a month, whether the cone works or not.
We will get more right now, this is the practice.
Earlier today, President Carter watched the latest broadcast of the Iranian hostages. He made little comment. They are not free, said Mr. Carter, and that is the most important thing.
Today's greetings had a somewhat sadder tone than the film released yesterday.
I think through the trials and tribulations I'm sure to come, all of us hostages are proud to be Americans.
Got about 5 more minutes, I think, before we can have a reveal to the code.
60 years of work by the Save the Children Fund. It must have seemed such a simple title in 1919
Still on the lookout for it,
to our
but
founder,
I think the biggest
Jeb.
problem is right now,
It was a
Warzone's
cry
going
from
through
the
a server
heart,
issue.
which was answered with such enthusiasm and efficiency that in the following 60 years, the fund has never lost sight of the simple, basic principles that Miss Jeb instilled to help the children of Eastern Europe after the First World War.
Story out of Cincinnati this morning, a bizarre tragedy.
Yep,
11
still
people
servers going
killed
through the
when
temporary
a rock
maintenance.
concert crowd went out of control.
A huge crowd
Estimated
waiting
wait
for
12
general
minutes.
admission seats
They said that
suddenly
about
surged
10
toward
minutes
entrance
ago.
doors, the people elbowing and kicking each other. Many were pushed under and the crowd stampeded over them. 11 died. A report by...
It just went crazy. There was a girl in front of me. She fell down and people were stamping on top of her and everything, and I was trying to help her up, and they were just hitting everybody and just trying to kill to get into the concert.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ronald Reagan.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to announce my intention to seek the Republican nomination for president. You know, someone once said that the difference between an American and any other kind of person is that an American lives in anticipation of the future because he knows it'll be a great place. Other people fear the future as just a repetition of... And tragically, as the cost of living keeps going up, the standard of living, which has been our great pride, keeps going down. The people have not created this disaster in our economy. The federal government has. It has overspent, overestimated, and overregulated. It has failed to deliver services within the revenue it should be allowed. As president, I would use every power at my command to make the federal establishment respond to the will and the collective wishes of the people. We must force the entire federal bureaucracy to live in the real world of reduced spending, streamlined function, and accountability. I cannot and will not stand by while inflation and joblessness destroy the dignity of... During a time when the Soviet Union may enjoy nuclear superiority over this country, we must never waver in our commitment to our allies, nor accept any negotiation which is not clearly in the national interest. We must judge carefully. Though we should leave no initiative untried in our pursuit of peace, we must be clear-voiced in our resolve to resist any unpeaceful act wherever it may occur. Negotiation with the Soviet Union must never become appeasement.
If the auto industry can't do it,
just less
government
than
researchers
2
will.
minutes, I think,
The Department
before
of
the code's
Transportation
revealed.
today unveiled what it is calling the safety car. It says it hopes it will all be driving it in the 1980s. DOT says the car gets more than 30 miles to a gallon of gas and is safe in a crash at speeds up to 50 miles an hour.
A mid-size prototype car developed for the U.S. Department of Transportation. It averages 32 miles a gallon, can take a head-on crash
again,
at 50 miles
the
an hour
problem is,
without
even
injury
if
to
the
the
code is
occupants,
revealed,
and can be produced for less than $6,000.
the problem is whether you can
you've
log
got
into Warzone or
great
not.
demand now for fuel
As
economy
I'm watching
cars.
this, I'm constantly trying
And
to log
so
in, but it's
we're
been
saying
having
to them
server
fuel
issues.
economy will sell. They've always doubted
We'll
that
see how we
before.
go.
Now, with the shifts that are occurring, it will sell. I think they will build them. And the technology in this vehicle is not technology that is impossible at all. It can be done, and I'm hopeful that by
Might go through all this, and
1985
then
to
we might not be able to
1990,
log in.
it will be.
Americans were driving cars as safe and fuel efficient as this one, traffic deaths could be cut in half, and the country could almost eliminate its need for imported oil.
Meanwhile, the Soviets not only ignored President Carter's withdrawal deadline yesterday, their invasion force is said to be growing. The U.S. Olympic Committee is going to go ahead and pick a Summer Olympics team, whether the team goes to Moscow for the Games or not, and it looks like America will not be going.
Just bloody get into Warzone. Would have been in there already.
As they rejected Mr. Carter's call for a boycott, the 16 Olympic committees also rejected an American and British proposal calling for a series of alternate games.
As you know, there is a big debate boiling up around the country. Should we not boycott the Moscow Olympics because of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan?
President Carter's tough line against the Soviets in his State of the Union speech produced a lot of news today. The Russians talked of a return to the Cold War.
It's not enough for you to be a kind of protester to the Russian invasion of Afghanistan.
No, I've always felt that political things should be kept out of sports, and I was very disappointed when they didn't this time.
Yep, disconnected from the server from Warzone. Constantly trying the background, but still no go. I believe F4 is the TV station, the shack that we were talking about in the first video.
been told all along that this operation was not likely to succeed. Therefore,
So
we
I'll
were
show you
led to
guys
believe it
what
would
I'm going
not
through right
occur.
now on Warzone.
I think if they had talked with us, we would have consulted and advised them,
This is
as I
what I'm
did
going
this
through
weekend
right
at the
now.
conference,
Server queue,
not to
it says
undertake
14
this kind
minutes.
of an operation because of the high
Right
risk
there.
involved.
It was about
and the
8
risk of
minutes,
failure,
about
which
20
would be
minutes ago,
calamitous
and
to
it
us.
just keeps on rising.
At Arlington National
it's not
Cemetery
helping at
today,
all.
3 American Air Force men who died on that raid were buried with full honors.
Which is typical Activision. See, even the video's finished. But I can't get in. The worst time to have a server maintenance right now.
The Mardi Gras crisis continued today in New Orleans. Festivities in the city itself have been canceled because the police are on strike, although some parades are being held in the suburbs. A judge ordered the police back to work, but so far the police have ignored the court order.
The big Mardi Gras parades would normally go through the city. This year, because of the police strike, most were moved to the suburbs.
Near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, an accident at a nuclear power plant. A spokesman said that a feed water pump broke down this morning, automatically shutting down the 3-mile nuclear power plant. Some radiated steam escaped into the atmosphere before the plant could be sealed off, but officials said there is no threat to health. The plant is 10 miles southeast of Harrisburg.
Within minutes after notification of the reactor accident at 3 Mile Island, the resources of the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission began to deploy to the plant site. Personnel and equipment began to arrive at the site, located on the Susquehanna River, to monitor the reactor and to evaluate the physical and radiation hazards
it is
to the
pretty
surrounding communities.
ridiculous, and I just realized.
This means it is now considered safe for pregnant women and preschool children to return to their homes within a 5-mile radius of the 3 Mile Island site.
In Britain, truck
So I'll
drivers
show you
are
guys
expected
the
to end a 27-day
screen, the
long
Warzone
strike.
screen.
They will
So
get
this
a
is the
pay raise
queue,
of
so I'm
almost
supposed to be
21%.
waiting. I've been
That
just
is
going
far
back and
above
forth,
the
back and forth.
government's
That might have not
anti-inflation
helped.
Thursdays after class, we usually go out to eat.
Well, this is
Helen
quite
would always
unfortunate.
drink. Later,
I
she
might
would
have
pick her
to
daughter up at school
end the
and
stream
drive
here
home.
and then come back once I get
One day,
access
there
to
was
this one.
terrible accident.
But take it
Well,
easy,
what could I
and I'll
have
see you
done?
guys in the next one.
If your friend has